Hi, this is my informative speech, things you should know when playing Overwatch. Alright, here we go. I've played video games since before I can remember. My family played them together, so I was kind of born into it, you know. My family is also highly competitive, so even as a toddler, basically, they didn't take it easy on me. So even in games like Dig Dug or other, silly older party games like that, I would spend most of my time being flattened underneath rocks that were dropped by, like my older brother or my dad or, somebody like that. Um, I think it's because of this basically that I became pretty above average at most video games. I enjoy playing most games from puzzle games to like mostly FPS games really. Um, to be to be good, like most FPS games require a lot of map knowledge and quick twitch responses, which is kind of why I enjoy playing them in the first place. My name is Colby, and I want to explain things you should know when playing modern FPS Overwatch. Alright, so the first things first, it's really different from a lot of other FPS games that are out there, right? So, a lot of FPS games, they kind of lean into the grittiness of war and just violence and like blood and all that stuff in general. But Overwatch is different in the fact that they kind of like to play into like their characters. They want you to like their characters and like the universe as opposed to just enjoying the bloodshed, I guess. So they try to put a lot of lore into that type of stuff. Um, Instead of focusing on like leveling up and stuff and like attaining like I don't like a high level piece of loot, that'll help you destroy the enemy team or something. It's basically just a lot of teamwork. Overwatch is if even if you're a level one, if and the team you're playing against is a bunch of level 100s, if you guys work together and the other team don't, then you're gonna win, right? All right. So Overwatch requires a ridiculous amount of practice to get really good anyway. Um, just like achieving uh, greatness in any game, you just gotta practice, 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 and if you don't do that, then you're just gonna be average at best. Um, the best way to practice is to find a character that you're comfortable with and basically just use them nonstop. You just want to use them until you get good with that character, and then once you're comfortable enough, you can switch off. There are three main roles found inside of Overwatch. These roles include damage, tank, and support. Um, there's kind of something for everybody, right? Every character has a different play style, right? So this means that in order to be an effective team member, basically, you have to be good with multiple characters. So if you're playing a game and something happens in that game, you need to be able to adjust to it, adapt to it. So if that means the enemy team is picking you apart because your team is too weak, then you need to switch to a beefier character that's not going to die so easily, basically. In competitive play, there are certain characters that you'll need to learn that you have to get rid of them first, or otherwise you're not going to be able to get rid of the other characters so easily. So once you learn stuff like that, the game becomes a lot easier. All right, understanding the maps, that's a big one on a game like this. So when you understand the maps and basically where the objectives are, then it'll just be easier for you to get there. And what that does is basically Overwatch is a game that has a time limit, and the time limit isn't very big. It's only like 4 or 5 minutes, I think, for each round. So that means every time you basically get eliminated, you have to run back from your spawn location all the way to where the objective is now. So that could mean like 25 seconds of just walking, and that's a lot of time when one round is only like 4 minutes, right? Um, as a new player, the least fun way to learn about like a cool new spot is like whenever you get killed by somebody else. That always suck. But it's always really important to watch that because you will then learn basically where that person is. So you'll learn a cool new spot even though you did just die. So that kind of sucks. All right. Understanding how to effectively use a character. That is really important because since every character is different, there's also ults that go along with every character. Each one of these are special to that character, so they all do completely different things. They all affect the game in a different way. So once you learn the basics of every character, you then need to learn how to use their ult. So, um, for instance, if you're playing a character like Reinhardt, he's a tank. He's got a giant shield and a giant hammer. What's not to love about that, right? Um, but his ultimate is where he just smashes his hammer on the ground and stuns everybody. But it's super easy to get blocked. So you have to be careful about when to use it, like the timing of it all. That's really the most important thing. Oh, I almost forgot. The worst thing you can do when using your ultimate is just not to use it. So if you get that ultimate about a quarter of the way through the game, and then you hold it to the very end, then you didn't contribute anything with that ult. If you use the ult and then you don't really achieve much with it, at least you used it, and you have another chance to get that ult again and use it again. So it's basically like you'll always have a second chance. All right. One of the most important things: do not ever play Overwatch like it's Call of Duty. If you're not playing with your team as a team player, um, then you're not going to win. If you're running around like it's Call of Duty, trying to get headshots, 360 no scope people, not going to work out for you. Um, some mistakes that a lot of people make, that they may be able to get away with in games like Call of Duty, is like overextending and stuff like that, where they basically just run too far in and it's a bloodbath. So it's just some common mistakes that people learn from other games. It's just not good, right? All right. Okay, well, that about wraps it up. I just wanted to make sure that with this, hopefully, you can see that Overwatch is a fun, competitive game that, just requires a lot of practice to get good. It'll take a lot of time to learn stuff, but it's really worth it. If you take the time to learn the stuff, the game ultimately just becomes way, way better.